Hello, everybody. Welcome back from lunch. Appreciate you guys coming in here. I'll tell you guys a little bit about our story today and what we've been doing. I think one of the things that's the best thing I like about this conference of other conferences is the conversations you get to have. You know, I kind of got in here late because I was having a really good conversation with somebody about how they're handling a process that we're struggling with like everybody else. And so I really encourage you guys to reach out and find some people, whether it be the vendors downstairs or other attendees or speakers. I think it's really a great opportunity to talk to everybody and meet new people and find out people that are having the same problem. One of the things I always tell people is Bridgestone's not a software company. So we can't single-handedly support a vendor, a Meta or we use Altura, one of those guys, because we need everybody to make this community thrive and flourish. And so definitely encourage you guys to network and talk to folks. Talk about what is the digital thread for Smart Factory and XR, and rethinking how to address the adoption struggles that a lot of us are having, and then connecting the thread from POC hell to actual business cases. How do we make that connection at leadership's point, and how do we get that ROI up and going? Gartner says that the smart factory is a concept used to describe the application of different combinations of modern technologies to create a hyper-flexible, self-adapting manufacturing capability. But to me, really, there's kind of two words in this that I tend to get drawn to: combinations and technologies. I'm talking about Smart Factory today because to me this ties into XR a lot, and so talking about bringing these different combinations of technologies together. The buzzword a couple years ago was Industry 4.0. We're going to do a digital transformation. Everybody wants a digital twin. One of the things that drives me crazy is talk about a digital twin. And I come from an engineering CAD background. I immediately think of 3D model. You talk to my executives in LSCM or something like that, they don't even care what the machine looks like. They don't even care about that. They're thinking about a spreadsheet. Like, how's that a digital twin? It's a spreadsheet, So, what is it that Industry 4.0 really going for? Everybody wants to be to that 4.0. Why? Money, right? Executives see this as a way to help their companies save money or make a better product. And a lot of us are kind of in this digital transformation phase where we're pushing towards that 4.0, but there's a lot of noise, right? There's a lot of things going on, a lot of people trying to do a different thing. And then you get into the digital twin. Probably most everybody in this room understands what a digital twin is, and I hope you base that on a 3D model, right? But also you understand that it's hard to get there. And then the foundation, where everything's getting from. Where are you getting that CAD model from? Where are you getting that metadata from? And then all of our executives have gone to a conference or they've heard about it, they read about it, somewhere, and they're like, man, XR is going to pull us up to Industry 4.0, right? You guys have heard that. Man, would you turn this XR thing on and all our troubles go away, right? But we hear that a lot. How's it going to make me money? How's it going to do better? Why is it going to solve that next big thing? AI is the new one, right? How's that going to solve our problems? We kind of had the same idea several years ago, partnered with Microsoft and a couple different vendors, and we came in, we did this big, giant brainstorming whiteboard session. It was back when the whiteboard guy thing was really big, and we came up with some really good use cases, and we came up with some really good POCs. And it was like, man, this is some really smart people in this room, and we were like, this is where we're going to be rich. I'm going to be, on a stage collecting an award for this, next year, because this is everybody in every plant's going to start using this, right? And so we started doing it. We got it out there. We actually got it out there right before COVID, and so remote assistant became really big. We had a lot of fans, a lot of people saying, "Oh, that is amazing." And then I go up to them and say, "Can I use it on your project?" "Oh no, I'm too busy. We're 3 days into a 6-year project. I don't have time to stop and do that." And so I'd heard one time at AES, somebody said, you have fans and you have supporters. Fans are the ones that go out on Friday nights and cheer the high school marching band on, and supporters are the ones that drive the bus with all the equipment in it. So we had a lot of fans, but not a whole lot of supporters that were they're willing to take this and do something with it. So why is it not skyrocketed? Why are we not, really taking off with XR? Why is it not changing the world? Why are we not at Industry 4.0? Because we have XR, right? We checked that box. And so we kind of said, okay, let's take a step back and go, what's really going on? Why are we not seeing XR succeed? Why is it not just skyrocketing? I had an executive say, man, if it's so great, then everybody will just want to use it, right? Yeah, we all remember seatbelts. Whenever they first mandated seatbelts in cars, some of us remember those days. People are screaming, well, you got to make me buckle my seatbelt? Like, I'm trying to save your life. You think people would want to do things like that, right? So as we go forward here, there we go. I think back to things that were great ideas that maybe didn't take off. Maybe I have a Zune. Maybe I'm showing my age a little bit. Man, I love that thing. It was way better than an iPod. Most of you don't even know what it is. And then also, as we talk to these trainers and we talk to these people out on the plant floor, you hear this a lot. Oh, that's going to take our jobs. I'm a trainer. I make money as a trainer. So you're going to take my job away from me, right? It's like, no, we're trying to give you another tool to be in your toolbox. And so what's really going on? Why are these people not buying into this? What's really happening? And so we looked into it and we said, let's kind of take a step back. And what we found was chaos, right? Everybody's really busy. We have drawings going all over the place. We had, when I started, I remember a couple years after I started, we had a retirement dinner. I think it was 6 guys and 250 years of experience walked out of the door with those 6 guys. And we were full of that. So as we go through this, everybody had it between their ears. We didn't have everything written down really well. We don't have a lot of good as-built drawings. We're a 125-year-old company. We have machines that are 100 years old that are still running. Now, we may have slapped some servos on top of it, and we made that machine, automated. There's an AGV that feeds it now, but the core of the machine's 100 years old. So, there's a lot of things that people are doing. I know many of you have heard that analogy that, they're pushing the cart with the square wheels, and the guy offers give them the round wheel, and they're like, oh, we're just too busy for that, right? But it's hard. How do you kind of fix this chaos that's going on? What do we do to make it better? Here's a good example of something. Whenever you realize it's not you're not into it deep until you're into it, right? So a friend of mine was remodeling his house, and we were going to put this 800-pound beam up here. And as we're loading this, we've got like 6 ladders, and we got all these guys perched all over the place. And somebody's like, you could really use one of those drywall lifts that you crank it up, and it would just put it up there for you. As we're all holding this beam above our head that weighs 800 pounds. Like, that's a great idea, but who's going to let go of the beam, go rent the thing, come back while the rest of us hold it for 2 hours while you're gone? We had to muscle through and get it up there. A gentleman told me one time, there's a Jim Carroll quote, and I think somebody else may have said this earlier this week, but I've lived by this for about 12 years since I first heard it. You really got to think big, right? That's really important to take in the whole picture. Start small, figure out what is that POC that you can really do, but you got to make sure that it can scale fast. If you don't do that, then you're going to be struggling. So what are the business issues facing the company? What is it we're trying to do to free up people's time? We need to look at all of manufacturing engineering, not just what we're trying to solve with XR, but what's the problem in all of manufacturing engineering? And another one that people always say, oh, fix business issues. Now, I also understand that, we sell black donuts, right? I'm not going to solve a problem of us not selling more black donuts. I want to make them better. I'm going to hopefully make them better quality and make them faster, make them cheaper. But, I'm not going to sell more donuts. So our business issues were around engineering. How do we solve those engineering things? So as we thought big, we looked at mapping out the entire engineering process. What is the current process? We asked 500 engineers, should we have a standard? Every one of them, yes, we should have a standard. What standard should it be? Mine, right? So we got them all, we got a team, a cross-functional team together, about 75 engineers from every plant, Argentina to Canada, corporate, every department, purchasing, quality, safety, maintenance. And we broke them into what we call swim lanes across horizontally, and then we broke it up into the PMBOK phases, initiation, planning, execution, and closing, and said, okay, what is the Bridgestone standard? And we made them all come to an agreement. It's my biggest accomplishment to date. I got 75 engineers to agree on something. I mean, that's pretty amazing, I think. But that was key to XR, not because XR needed this giant process, because we were trying to solve a problem that, XR was just showing where we were lacking in some of that stuff. So we took that giant picture and we started going, okay, what is kind of the life cycle of an asset? What are the different PMBOK phases? How do we look at it and go, how do we bring our partners in to use this, because we're a small team, can't do it all ourselves. So we brought in these partners, and we started connecting the thoughts and the ideas and the processes, using data, sharing it around, and knowing that if we can get that data connected, that it'll really help the whole process. And then tying it back to the business goals, right? So we have a thing called E8, and it's the 8 E's about the Bridgestone. And so we tied it back to that so that executive leadership could understand what we were really trying to do. Hey, this is our E's and this is how it ties in, so we can get buy-in from the leadership as well as the folks downstream. And if you remember this, we were talking about XR was up here. Really what you need to do is you need to push XR down. We need XR to be down here to help us get to the top, not pull us from the top up. We need to have XR to help us move it down there. Can we get that data in there, utilizing XR to give us better data, or use it as an excuse to get better data? Most of our problems are because we didn't have a drawing. XR doesn't fix the fact we don't have a drawing, right? So you have to have a 3D model to be able to do the XR. Well, that's really just giving you the drawing. So we're kind of using that as an excuse to fix this bigger problem. And said, okay, what are we already doing? And then how do we tie that together? We have chaos. We're trying to organize chaos, right? And so we started tying things together. So we got machine design, tying to our BOM, tying to our electrical BOM, tying to our PDM solution, CMMS, our ERP, our data analytics, our building designs, and then going to a full digital twin, and then using XR to do our design reviews, right? I'm not telling you that, hey, we're adding XR in here. What I'm telling you is I'm adding XR in here as a step that everybody has to do in the process. Our standard process says at this point in time, now you have to do an XR design review. And we're kind of slowly working them down to where every project now has an XR design review because we're requiring it as part of the engineering process. Every time we've done an XR design review, we've saved probably $100,000 per time. Getting engineers to do this sometimes is difficult. We've done it with engineers. I told a story in the panel earlier. We've done it with operators. Every time we've done it with an operator, we've seen huge success. And so adding that into the engineering process steps, that this is required that you do this XR design review, has allowed us to get more out there, get it to where the engineers are thinking about it. One of the problems we had is the engineers would come in, they go, all right, let's do a design review. Okay, when do you need to do it? Tomorrow. Do you have any data? No, you got to completely 3D model that and give me all the stuff that's in my head that you don't know anything about and give it to me tomorrow. So adding it to the process, adding it to where people think about it 6 months, a year, 2 years before they need it. Now, whenever we go to do a design review, they already know we've been working on the 3D model. We've got one that's a 2D to 3D conversion. We're going to make another version of it. It's going to take us solid 7 months to do it, such a big machine. But we've already scheduled the design review, XR design review, in January of next year. So they're ready for it. Instead of coming in last minute saying, let's do this. As we go through this, I've told you a little bit about our journey, but really, I'm trying to sum it up that it's all about connecting people's tools and processes. Most companies are doing a lot of this stuff, but sometimes it's not all in the same department. Sometimes it's not connected, and getting people to think about it in a process. My boss was really great at thinking about it from a Six Sigma process-oriented type process, and being able to show people that XR can be part of the process that can help and not get in your way, not take more time, right? Because that's the other thing. Oh, you're going to slow us down. Well, I'm going to solve, instead of you going through 17 iterations, you're going to go through 5. How much time are you going to save? You can't tell people about that, right? They don't believe you. You go to tell somebody something. So you really have to make sure that communication is key. People are the lock, right? So you really got to unlock people. You got to get them involved. You got to get their buy-in. And if you have to be successful, if you want to be successful with this, sometimes you have to look outside of XR. Chances are the engineering process isn't your responsibility. It's not my responsibility. I had to go to the engineering manager. I had to go to the director of manufacturing engineering, and I had to sell the fact that we need to map out the engineering process. Why do you care about that? You're the CAD guy. You're the XR guy. That's because this is a much bigger problem that we can solve for everybody and really get us to that next gen, that industry 4.0. So, thinking about it from this way, this is kind of how we've gone from that POC hell where we were trying to do these POCs and hoping people see the value to putting it into the business plan and the business processes so we can actually get a business success out of it. So with that, we've got about 5 minutes left, I saved for questions and answers. Is everybody going to be quiet because it's been after lunch? I mean, you can make me dance. It's really bad, I'm telling you. The questions are much better. Go ahead.
In your competitive landscape, do you think you're ahead of your competitors or behind or right in line, or do you know?
So the question is do I think in our competitive landscape, am I ahead or behind my competitors in a 125-year-old business? I would like to think that we're ahead. I don't think we're as far ahead as some executives think we are with some of this stuff. I think a lot of people are kind of going through this, but I do think that we've been forward thinking. I've been doing this for 10 years at Bridgestone as far as XR. So from a tire company standpoint, we are kind of forward thinking on that. Good question, thank you. That answer your question? Anybody else got some?
Hey there, so whenever we're, sorry, I'm loud. So talking about Industry 4.0 and everything, there are other branches outside of XR. How do you see that kind of pie graph breaking down as far as XR's importance or necessity with regard to IoT, sensors, all the other aspects of that as well?
So I was talking to a guy in product development a couple years ago, and we were in this big conference room that had a big whiteboard wall, and he went up to the wall and he drew this big circle on the wall. He said, this circle is every problem that Bridgestone has. And he drew this little bitty circle. He goes, part of the problem we have with, because I don't know if you guys knew this, but we really make silos and tires are just a byproduct we have to get rid of. They go, everybody thinks that little bitty circle is everybody else's responsibility and that the rest of that big giant circle is mine. It's really a pie graph, like you said. It ties into Industry 4.0. It ties into everything else. I think the biggest answer to that is everybody wants it to be the biggest piece of the pie. In reality, nobody really has enough money to do it all at once, right? It's going to take time. And so if we work together and we talk to the IoT stuff, we do some connected worker, we see where the data works together, we're more successful because we're getting their buy-in too. But it is that it's not an even pie, right? Because getting a complete 3D model of every single plant that we have, I would love to have $20 billion and an army of 1,000 people to do that and get it done in a year, but they're never gonna give me that much money. So I'm gonna have to chip away at it over time. And what I can do in pieces when I can do it, that's really kind of my best approach at that. But yes, we are working on IoT. We do have people working on other aspects of Industry 4.0, and we try to team up with them when possible and not step on each other's toes, so to speak. And it's been successful so far as get along good with those guys. Got another question over here? He has the mic.
Are you recruiting your talent or growing your talent? How are you building the talent base? How are you keeping the pace with demand?
So all of the above. So my team, engineering services support, we do a lot of very unique things inside of the company. So it's very hard to get somebody from one of the other plants or promote up through the ranks because there's not that many people doing what we do. So we tend to bring them in. I have a lot of contractors. A lot of my, of the 30 positions under me, there's about 15 that are teammates, and all 30 started out as a contractor, including me. So it's a long-term interview. So we bring in contractors, we train them how to do technical support, data entry, whatever it is. The ones that do well, we do develop them over time and hopefully promote them to the next level. But at the same time, I hired a game developer. You know, I'm not going to develop a game developer inside of the company. We hired him to come in and help with the XR stuff. Kind of thing. So how much are we allowing them to work from home versus working from the office? How much is Andy allowing them to work from home versus the office? Is much different than what corporate is allowing. So we work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday downtown Nashville, Tennessee in our corporate office or at a facility somewhere depending on if there's a project going on. But Mondays and Fridays are our work from home days. Kind of thing. Alex?
Great job in the presentation. You mentioned chipping away at your digital twin scans, I suppose, that you guys have been doing. After you capture those twins, are they consumable from anybody at Bridgestone jump in and explore the twins that have been captured?
So he's asking about digital twin capturing data. So we've been capturing data at Bridgestone for about 12 years now with 3D scanners. And starting in 2022, we went to full plant scans. We go out, we scan an entire plant. Biggest is 5 million square feet, 25,000 scans. We take that and we process it. It takes us about 14 to 16 days to capture that much data with 3 scanners, working 18-hour days. Bring it back. It takes us about 6 months to process it sometimes, 3 to 6 months, depending on the size. We get done, we load it to Faro CNXG, which is their online viewer, and works like Google Earth. Anybody we give access to can. So if somebody has it, somebody purchasing wants to see what something looks like, bring them in. We do some virtual reality 3D walkthroughs. We don't use the scans for that, they're too big, although I was talking to the Centu guys right before this, so it's potential. But we do allow, as long as they have the right credentials, they can, but we do control it one by one. It's not like everybody in the company can just log in and see it, because it is, some of it data is confidential, so we do have to limit it. But we have also shared with vendors. So we have some of our vendors that do a lot of work for us, and they've actually said, hey, if you give us this 3D model of this cluster of conveyors, we'll take away $4,000 trip that where we used to go just take pictures to see what it looked like and use the scan to do that. So. Yes, yeah. So our scans, we do super high precision scans, and we can do remote measuring with those. I've actually had guys tell me that work at the plant, it's easier for me to get into the scan, take a measurement, than it is for me to get out of my desk, walk up 5 stories to the top of the mixer, take a measurement, walk back, because then 3 people stop me on my way and have a conversation with me. So it takes me an hour to go get that measurement. Or I can load up a scan and 2 minutes, take that same measurement and be good. So he's asking about ROI, how do we calculate ROI, things like that. I think the biggest ROI is waterboarding is technically not illegal, right? You can still hold their head. One of the biggest problems we had with that is we came up with some calculations how this was going to save us money if we did this XR training. And the plant literally wouldn't give us the data from the amount of time we were saving because they were afraid we would cut their budget. The plant manager said no. His boss went to him and said, give us that information. He said, you'll have to fire me first. It was that contentious. So what we've done in place of getting hard ROI numbers is we've used some industry standards. When we do get those numbers, maybe it's time, we have to kind of fudge those numbers and estimate what it is versus using the actual cost saving numbers. But it's usually so much more than what it costs to do it that we just need a crumb to be able to pay for what we spend, kind of thing. Anybody else? Did I answer your question? Awesome. All right.
I have a question. Do you see like advancements in your data capture? Like, are you doing a lot more
So we're using the Faro scanners with the flash scans, which allow you to get a scan every 30 seconds on a terrestrial scanner. We have done drone flyovers at our chemical plant because it was all outside. I am terrified to fly a drone inside of our tire plants because lithium battery into a big piece of grinding machinery, rubber, fire, not good at all. I don't want to take that liability on. Somebody said, well, if we did it during our shutdowns, we shut down at Christmas and 4th of July. I was like, well, the only problem with that is you got 3,000 guys doing maintenance all over these machines that, you know, we don't shut them down, but those couple weeks a year. So they run 24/7. So then you have all these maintenance guys in your way, so you don't get a good picture then too. So we've just found that the terrestrial stuff, we can get in there pretty good with scanners most of the time while the equipment's running at 30 seconds a scan. We do have like a 15-foot tall tripod. Several times we'll mount the scanner to a basket lift. Without being in it, you raise it up. You can raise them up from the ground, let it stop shaking. Then you can do a scan and bring it back down. If we need to get really high, overarching, but a lot of catwalks and mezzanines and things like that, we'll get up high and scan from there. But we can get quite a bit from the tripods. Anybody else? Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. We got to turn over to the next group. Thank you all so much. If you have any questions, I'll be hanging out here.